Good morning and a very warm welcome to the OER Webinar Dhofar the Future Roadmap. Leading industry bodies including Madayn, Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Oman Manufacturers Association are endorsing today's webinar. The strategic partners are Dhofar International Development and Investment Holding Company, Raysut Cement, Port of Salalah, Dhofar Insurance Company, Bank Dhofar, Muscat Overseas Group, Octal and Transom. I would like to thank all our endorsing and strategic partners for their support for the webinar today. My name is Akshay. I'm the Group Managing Editor of United Media Services, the publisher of Oman Economic Review, and I'll be moderating today's session. We have a distinguished panel of industry speakers from across sectors with very strong ties to Dhofar region. They'll be discussing on various aspects of Dhofar's future roadmap. We are pleased to welcome Mr. Hussain Buthari. He is the chairman of the Dhofar branch of Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry and also the head of industry committee. We also welcome Mr. Said Rashdi. He is the CEO of Oman Manufacturers Association. We also welcome Mr. Mohammed Mashani, General Manager, Corporate Affairs, Port of Salalah. We also welcome Mr. Omar Shaikh. He is the Deputy CEO of Dhofar Insurance Company. We also welcome Mr. Himansu Mohapatra. He is the Group General Manager Investments of Muscat Overseas Group. We also welcome Mr. Siddharth, Rishi, Sathapathy. He is the Head of Treasury, Raysut Cement Company. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us today, and a big thank you to our audience who are connected to us through Zoom and through YouTube. I would now like to invite Mr. Atulya Sharma, the CEO of United Media Services, to say a few words and set the tone for today's agenda.
Thank you, Akshay, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to discuss the future roadmap of Dhofar. This is the fourth session of the OER webinar series. Actually, our earlier three webinars were on the topics of tackling economic disruption and business risk. That was conducted in April of this year. In June, we had conducted another webinar on business transformation for the new reality. And just last month, we had hosted a webinar on how Oman's manufacturing sector should negotiate the new reality. Besides, we have also hosted 3 webinars in the UAE on the topics of sustaining business continuity during and post COVID-19, and also one on how to master a remote company culture. I guess these webinars are our way of engaging with eminent thought leaders and opinion makers to discuss hot topics and compelling subjects that will have a far-reaching impact on the economy and the business climate of the country. We try and get private sector practitioners and the relevant government representatives to enable a well-rounded and balanced discussion in a live environment. What's more, these virtual events allow the audience to ask direct questions to these subject matter experts. Today's webinar is no different. Our focus today, of course, is on Dhofar and its future roadmap. And we are joined by an amazing array of speakers who've already been introduced by Akshay. And these include representatives from OCCI, the Oman Manufacturers Association, the Port of Salalah, and private sector players in Dhofar, including Raysut Cement, Dhofar Insurance, and the Muscat Overseas Group. A warm welcome to all of you, and thanks for taking out the time. This all would not have been possible without your support and coordination. Thank you very much, gentlemen. When we talk about Dhofar, what comes to mind are breathtaking beaches, rainy days possibly, lush greenery, fascinating landmarks, and of course, the frankincense. No doubt, Dhofar is the tourism hub of Oman. Hundreds of thousands of tourists from different places visit Dhofar, especially during and just after the Kharif season. In fact, as I'm told, Europeans also charter planes post-Kharif to be in Dhofar and in Salalah particularly. But of course, as we all know, Dhofar has a lot more to offer beyond tourism. It has a thriving and diversified economy. It is home to the first public-private partnership in Oman. Yes, Port of Salalah was the first and has been one of the most successful PPP projects in Oman. Dhofar is also home to Octal, one of the largest non-oil and gas producing or exporting companies in Oman, and a great showcase of successful FDIs in this country. I must also share that GCC's first utility scale wind farm is also located in Dhofar. So these are just few of the very many economic success stories of Dhofar, and I'm sure the panelists will, touch upon these in much more detail. In the recent months, like in the rest of the world, Dhofar has also suffered from the pandemic and the downturn that it sort of results into. There has been a fall in economic activity, reduced exports demand, and washout of the Kharif season was actually a black swan event for Salalah and for Dhofar. And these have, to whatever extent, impacted the economy of Dhofar. Having said that, Alhamdulillah, we are seeing signs of economic recovery, and we really hope that Dhofar is able to pave its way back to full economic recovery soon enough. Historically, Dhofar, the largest region in the Sultanate by area, has contributed significantly to Oman's economic progress and social development over the last 5 decades of the Blessed Renaissance. Dhofar is also integral in modern Oman's quest towards a developed, diversified, and sustainable economy as envisaged in Vision 2040. I guess His Majesty Sultan Haitham bin Tariq's recent royal tour to Dhofar affirmed the high priority Dhofar commands in Oman's vision for the future. So without further ado, I hope that today's discussions will lead us to explore the future roadmap of Dhofar. I really look forward to hearing the views of the experts on the subject. Thank you very much, and hope you all have a productive session. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Atulya, for setting the pace for today's webinar. Gentlemen, when we talk of Dhofar, the name of Salalah comes top of the mind actually. The port has been the anchor for Dhofar's development over decades. To tell us more about the port of Salalah and its future development plans, let me invite Mr. Mohammed Al-Mashani of Port of Salalah to make a short presentation on the port.
Thank you, Akshay, and I would like also to thank the organizers for allowing us, Port of Salalah, to give a presentation about the Port of Salalah, and I will try to make it very simple and short. I know that we have a limited time, around 1 hour 30 minutes, so I will not take much of your time. Next on the slide. Okay, this is like a brief about Port of Salalah. We started our operations in 1998, and we are a public listed company traded in Muscat security market. So if any one of you guys are interested, you can buy shares. I think the share around 600 paisa. We are one of the largest employer in Dhofar with more than 2,200 employees. We have around 21 STS cranes, state-of-the-art cranes currently. Our capacity in the container terminal is around 5 million TEUs, between 4.5 and 5 million TEUs. We have 6 berths in the container terminal and also 14 berths in the general cargo terminal. If we look into our shareholders, we are a mix of international and local. 30% of our shareholders belongs to APM Terminals. APM Terminals is one of the largest port operators in the world, where they are present in more than 60 countries in the world. We have government pension funds around 23%, different government pension funds. Also, the government represented by ASIAD, they own 20%. Definitely, ASIAD is one of the leading logistic service provider looking after the government investment in the logistic sector. The rest, they are like 19% institutional investors and 8% local investors. Next. This is like, I just want to show you where we were and where we are at the moment. So if you look into the first picture, where in 1960s, there is almost nothing. And then when His Majesty, the late Majesty Sultan Qaboos took over, in the 70s, there was some development in the Raysut, what is called the Raysut port at that moment. And then in the 90s, you can see the pictures. And recently, we are one of the largest ports in the region. Next. This is like just to mention that Port of Salalah, we are a multi-purpose port. We have three main terminals. One is the container terminal, the other one is the general cargo terminal, and also we have newly for the last 5 years a liquid terminal as well. Next. This is some of the key milestones. We are the first largest gypsum exporter in the world. We are exporting more than 9 million tons of gypsum per annum. We are also the 11 busiest, one of the top 11 busiest transshipment port in the world. And recently we became the 44 on the list of top 100 container port in the world, which was recently, I think it was published in August. Next. This is our growth rate, our accumulated growth in the last 5 years, ranging around 12%, which is, I think, one of the largest, one of the ports in the region that is they see like a growth year on year, and this is like our growth rate in the container terminal. Last year we hit our key milestones by hitting more than 4.1 million TEUs. This is the highest what we got, and we are hoping also this year to reach that number. Next, for the general cargo terminal as well. Also, we can see our growth on the general cargo terminals. We can see we started less than 1 million in 1998 where we started, and now we are more than 16 million tons exported on a year and exported and imported on year. Next. I'm just a little bit quick, so I would like to utilize the time for more questions. So definitely, we are one of the, also we have a corporate social responsibilities, and we have a budgeted 100,000 Omani riyals on a yearly basis to develop the community, and mainly we are looking into low-income families, building houses with our Oman charitable organizations. And definitely recently with the COVID-19 epidemic, we started to also to buy some equipment for the Sultan Qaboos Hospital and so on. Next. So I think the whole webinar today is about Salalah and Dhofar in general. So why Salalah? I think the main thing that, or the value proposition that we are giving, Dhofar is giving, is what we call the Salalah hub. We have the board, and we already explained the incentives that we are having, or the thing that we are offering. Also, you have a Salalah free zone, and it is one of the emerging free zones in the world. And as well as we have the Salalah airport, which is an international. So these three components can make a successful ingredient or recipe for Dhofar to develop. Next. The gateway for emerging and growth market. We are outside of the Strait of Hormuz, and we are on the east. We are very close to the east-west trade corridors. It's less than 140 miles, and we have like a container vessels goes more than 25 container vessels goes away. So we are in the center of almost everything, the east and west, and that is also giving us an opportunity, a good advantage to invest in Dhofar. Next. This is also one of the big advantage of Port of Salalah, is that we have a very good connections. So we can reach actually anywhere in the world within 2 weeks. So we have a direct calls to Africa, emerging market in Africa, in subcontinent. We have a direct call to the US, and as well as we have a weekly calls, more than 10 weekly calls to Europe as well. Next. Definitely one of the things that also enhanced Dhofar is the ease of doing businesses, where the government is actually trying to become an e-government, and now I think one-stop shop that also in the free zone as well as in the Ministry of Commerce is helping also investors to ease their business. I don't want to talk much of this because it's known to everyone. Next. Okay, so emerging trends and opportunities. Definitely, the COVID-19 has a lot of disruption to the supply chain demand. So pre-COVID-19, the supply chain was focusing on the lowest possible possible per unit price and a single source of manufacturers, and mainly in China. A stable or smooth ramp of demand, just on time, and relatively inflexible delivery schedules. Then, when the COVID happened, the supply disruptions became stoppage of manufacturing in the world factory, China. That has a lot of impact on the businesses itself, especially the supply. Stock out due to increased demand. I would say like the PPE, toilet rolls, and all these, even the food industries got impacted with that. Stoppage of operations of first-tier suppliers, and also some export restrictions, especially on some commodities like BBB, and this is where it happens in India as well, and other part of the world. On the demand disruption, speaking of demand of some commodities, food, there was a lot of demand for the food industry or the food product. Also, we have seen a steep drop in demand on certain commodities like automobiles and oil. And then also we are expecting a release of pent-up demand after the lockdown. Then there will be a lot of demand for some commodities, and also there is temporary rise in demand. Why we are giving this? I think if we look into that, we would say that Dhofar we can take advantage and opportunities of this, especially on the demand and supply disruptions, where we can have or establish Dhofar as one of the supply center or the supply center for the emerging market nearby. Next. Yeah, I think I was a little bit in a hurry because I would like to give more opportunities to other colleagues, as well as also to induce more questions to answer that. Thank you, and also I would like to thank again the organizers for giving me this opportunity to give a brief about Port of Salalah.
Thank you, Mr.
Back to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for the insightful presentation. We definitely are going to take up more in detail your points related to the strengths of Port of Salalah, as well as the emerging trends and opportunities which you talked about it. It's time to get on with the discussion now, but before we do that, let me share some procedural points for the benefit of our audience. We will be taking audience questions towards the end of today's webinar. So please type your questions in the panel below with your name and designation. And during the course of the discussion, we'll be putting up 2 polling questions for our audience. So please do participate with your response. This is for the audience. It's time now to start the discussion. Let me start with Mr. Omar first. Mr. Omar, your family has got very strong ties with Dhofar region. You have also been on the boards of various companies in Dhofar. If we look at it, Sultan Haitham made a royal tour to Dhofar last month. Now, what is the significance of that tour, and what are the positive outcomes from that, in your opinion? Mr. Omar?
It was mute. Assalamu alaikum. First of all, I would like to thank everybody in the banners and OER to give us the opportunity to be in this banner. As you said, that was His Majesty Sultan Haitham visiting Salalah last month. It was great that he invited head of each family in the Dhofar region to meet, and it was an open floor for a discussion. And he was listening to everybody, and a couple of sheikhs, they have some ideas and they ask questions, and His Majesty was so open in terms of listening to sheikhs, and he touched a couple of things where today's situation with COVID, with the oil price, but surprised everybody that beginning of the year, there will be some project floated to the country, to the Dhofar region. He touched that Dhofar region is very important. And one of the wording he mentioned that His Majesty Sultan Qaboos, he started from Dhofar and he will start from Dhofar too. So that was really a strong message to everybody. And it was really good meetings as usual with Sultan Qaboos, Allah Yarahmu, that in the past, when he meet with the Sheikh and the public, he always let people ask questions, and That was what we been always seeing in the past 50 years, and that's continued. So he was really in touch with the people, and he mentioned the location and the Dhofar region as an important region to play a big role in the economy of the country. So yeah, that was one of the things that was really good. Everybody was happy leaving that meeting when he met all big sheikhs in Salalah.
Sure, indeed. The tour of Sultan Haitham has been a major morale booster for everyone in the Dhofar region. Moving on, let's look at some of the unique propositions of Dhofar region. Mr. Mohammed in his presentation had touched upon some of the key strengths of Dhofar. Let me go to Mr. Siddharth. You manage a very successful manufacturing plant in Dhofar. In your opinion, what makes Dhofar a perfect fit for domestic, regional, and international investors?
I think I'll put it in 3 ways. Thank you very much for inviting us and making this event, by the way. I would put it in 3 points, the input and the processing and the output. All the 3 is really available in Salalah and the Dhofar region. You have got the right kind of raw materials, natural resources. You have the, for the processing, you have got skilled and semi-skilled manpower. You have the free zone. And for output, as Mr. Mohammed said, the whole region of export and even the import, it's a gateway to the Gulf of this Middle East.
Sure. Mr. Hussain, in your opinion, what are the key strengths of Dhofar region?
Yeah, Mr. Thank you very much actually today for talking about Dhofar, and also thanking for the webinar to be here today to talk about Dhofar region. Of course, Dhofar, I believe it's one of the important governors in the Sultanate of Oman, since we have we can talk about many sectors or many sectors promising in Dhofar. And really, today, if we are going to talk about starting of mining, which is really doing well in Dhofar, then we are going to talk about fisheries and agriculture, also is promising. Talking about tourism as well. It is other sector which is really picking up. This is the 3 or 4 sector. Logistic as well. Today I believe in Dhofar we have really very well managed, in terms of infrastructure. We have very good port, as you see. Mr. Mohammed, he presented his port today, and as well Salalah Airport, International Airport today. The road, in terms of the road. Today also as well we have Salalah Free Zone area, which is really having enough space, which is close to the port and airport as well. Madayn as well, we have in Madayn Raysut industrial area. Madayn as well, they have new area in Mohammed going to be open soon. And Madayn as well, they have also a new area in Amrit, which is 160 kilometers from Salalah. Madayn, they're planning to open a new promising area, especially for the oil and gas zone. So today the whole infrastructure is there. We should talk about Dhofar location, which is we are so neighbor to country mainly. We are talking about Yemen, which is having almost more than 35 million people. So we should think about this opportunity as well. Somalia, which is already we do big export of our material, either from manufacturer of Salalah or coming through Salalah port. So today, all this is opportunity. Really, we should think about it. We should evaluate it. Also, we should talk about the new thing is coming now. The new rule, which was coming from our government for the foreign investor, it is really promising. It is really ask the people to come to Oman and Salalah as well. We need the time to talk about the all promising sector in Dhofar, really. And I know since Dhofar located nearby, again, to tell you that we are close to Yemen, close to Somalia, close to Africa area. So really, we should think how to can manufacturing to this kind of country and how we can deliver their product, since we have also Salalah port, which is they have direct line to many destinations. Mr. Mohammed before he was mentioning that. So this is thing really we should think about it in the future, I believe.
Very well said, Mr. Hussain. Let me go to Mr. Himansu. Your Muscat Overseas Group has got a large portfolio of investments across sectors in Dhofar region. In your opinion, what makes Dhofar a compelling case for the investors?
Okay. So first of all, I would like to thank Akshay, Atulya, and the UMS team for organizing and picking such a nice and interesting topic. It's a really very good, and for us and for the entire investor community, the topic is quite interesting. And also, I'd like to congratulate everybody who has contributed and participated in this, and a good afternoon and good morning to all the panelists and the who joined in the Zoom meeting. In terms of the attractiveness, I will tell in a three-way. One is what is the strengths already elaborated by Mr. Mohammed and also Mr. Omar and Mr. Hussain. Definitely the strategic location, which is having the unique topography and the centrally located, and the infrastructure built by the government is the port and the free zone. That's a definitely unique proposition, and it's a big strength which it has. So, but other than that, also Salalah has to offer a lot of unique stuff, unique things, the unique plants and unique animals. If you say frankincense is a unique thing which is not available everywhere. It is only available in Dhofar. Limiting few countries, it's nowhere available, and it has a huge uses in terms of incense, perfume, and also in healthcare industry. It is a natural medicine. Even a lot of Chinese medicine, Western frankincense, a lot of wellness industry, a lot of healthcare industries can grow surrounding this. So this is a unique proposition. Another unique proposition is the abalone. Abalone is a very precious, healthy, nutritious food and seafood, and all are exporting to the Asian market, which is a big demand. It's a kind of a premium delicacy which we have to promote, and it's a kind of a brand for Oman having this, and it's nowhere it's available. So surrounding that also, even similar to that, there are many industries can be grown based on the uniqueness of the Salalah. And third and most important thing is it has the strength, it has the uniqueness, but untapped. It is not tapped by many investors, even locally and even internationally. It's a quite untapped market. It's the second largest city in Oman, considering around 500,000 population, plus just next to Yemen, which is around 30 million population. And it is access, being the centrally located, is access to Europe, access to Asia, access to even, as Mr. Mohammed told, we can reach anywhere within 2 weeks. What is the great advantage we have? So this completely untapped, we have to promote well. And what we are doing as a group, definitely we are focusing on those. We have been invested across the sector. And I just want to highlight what we are doing now. We are focusing on the fishery and agriculture, setting up the aquaculture plant for abalone, which will create a really brand building and also support the local industry, because the abalone is depleting from the sea. So that's why our government is not putting a restriction on catching the abalone, but it has a real good fisheries and also maintain the quality. To maintain a quality in the global market, we have to have a continuity. So to sustain the continuity and maintain the quality, you are setting up, and we are the last stage of the construction. Hopefully by next year, in the early next year, we start producing the abalone. Similarly, to sustain all the growth in the Salalah region, okay, we should have a social infrastructure. So we are bringing the global international standard, international school in Salalah with IGCSE curriculum and IGCSE Cambridge curriculum, which will definitely support the groom the young talent and provide the equal platform of the Salalah local people. At the same time, we are also utilizing the free zone facility and the available raw material like limestone, everything, and setting up with our Indian partner, the Nitrate Group, to set up a caustic soda and sodium nitrate and sodium nitrate plant, which will also start the groundbreaking next year. So there are many. These are already announced and ongoing. Other than that, we are also working on other food industry, healthcare industry. Many projects are in pipeline. So we are completely committed to the growth of Dhofar and growth of Oman, and we are continuously investing. And definitely this is a very good platform to discuss and get support from different bodies to groom it further.
Sure. Mr. Omar, why should an investor consider Dhofar compared to other options available for them in the country as well as across the border also? What's your opinion on it?
My opinion, see the location, and Dhofar is not new for as a port. It's been thousands of years. Dhofar has been known as a location. Plus, you know, we are not looking to East Africa, where is more than a 400 million of population plus 20 countries in that, only in that area where Mr. Mohammed, he was really showing in his slide the location, and the nearest location to us is East Africa, which is, we're talking about 400 million people. That is a very important, and Dhofar is as a location. I mean, we tested as an insurance company when Mukona happened. There was a claim, and Mr. Mohammed knows about this. That claim almost reached $90+ million, and our reinsurance as Dhofar, it was paid as soon as other claims were. They take a couple of years until they do the review and do all of that. But because the location, because the strongest as Salalah board today, the reinsurance, and the insurance sector, they support that port because of the location, because the potential for future. Today we look at the slide with Mr. Mohammed. It's interested during this period, and there is a growth. There is a growth that give us an indication. If we start tip and the investors will join in Dhofar, I think we will see Dhofar different in next 5 years, because the growth during the COVID and the oil price is dropping, and we still have growth in Salalah port. So that's my.
Sure. I think going by the opinion of everyone, it seems like Dhofar has a great potential for further development and growth, and it has got all the ingredients in place to play a major role in the overall economic diversification of the Sultanate. And I think let's look at what the audience thinks about it. You know, let's go to the audience to understand what is their opinion. It's time to take our first audience poll question. Can we have the question on the screen, please? The question is, do you think Dhofar has the strengths to be an attractive investment destination? Please vote yes or no. It seems the majority is overwhelmingly towards yes, Dhofar has the strengths to be a key attractive investment destination. I think that's perfectly in sync with what our speakers have also said just now. Yeah, so 98% thinks yes, Dhofar has all the strengths, and 2% thinks negatively on that. You know, moving on to take the discussion ahead, which industry sectors we should be focusing upon? Some of you have already talked about some of the key sectors. Let me go to Mr. Syed on this. You know, Mr. Syed, what are the sectors which we should be focusing on, let's say from the manufacturing industry's perspective?
Again, I will go back to what my brothers mentioned. Our biggest markets are Africa, probably GCC, and hopefully very soon Yemen, as soon as things get stabilized there and we are able to export. The challenges facing exporting to Africa is mainly the NAFTA agreement, which prevents people from outside Africa to export there to some extent, and to a limit where it becomes unfeasible. And then we have the challenge of some other exporting countries like Turkey, for example, which over-supports its products, so that our products become very unfeasible or unable to compete in the market. I think anybody who is looking to start a new manufacturing will have to take all these matters in consideration. Having GCC around us is a good access to GCC market, but in reality, the fact that still there are many non-tariff barriers blocking our products from reaching there the way that it's supposed to be. So I don't think there is a specific project or specific product that we can be focused in, as much as we need to understand the markets around us.
Sure. Mr. Hussain, I'll come back to you. In your opinion, which are the 5 key industries which the government, the private sector should be focusing on? Mr. Hussain, you're on the mute. Kindly unmute yourself, please.
Yeah, sorry. I think, as I'm saying before, the promising sector we can talk about it today, it is the tourism, and agriculture and fisheries is also as well. Logistic, we can say. Manufacturing. This is also we can say the fourth one. Logistic already I mentioned, tourism, manufacturing. This is where we mining as well, oil and gas. Dhofar is really having a lot of things we are doing in oil and gas manufacturing. Today, when we are talking about sector, we should not talk about only sector. Today, I think in Dhofar mainly we have investment in all of the sector. But I believe if we see the statistics today, we do a lot of exporting of the raw material. Let's say when talking about mining or fisheries or oil and gas, I believe today we should focusing in value-added project. We should add in a value. This is where we should focusing in the next future, which is really we should do export the product with value added. Why we said that to the other country and they are doing value added and they're exporting to our country or to the region. No, we should do it from our country and we should do the export, especially in fisheries, especially in mining. This is two sectors, and oil and gas. This is three sectors. I think we should add in a value and then we should do export. Here we should talk about it. This is the main thing where as well, you know, as all of my colleagues now they're mentioning, you know, the location and the infrastructure in terms of port or airport. Today with the food sector as well, food manufacturing, you know, since we are living around of 100 or let's say 500 million of people. So we should think how we can feed these people. We can manufacture their food, how we can export their food. This is where we can talk about it in the next future. I believe it.
Mr. Omar, what is your opinion on that? Which are the 5 key industry sectors do you think Dhofar should be focusing on?
Well, Sheikh Hassan is already covered, but I will say, you know, trading is one of the things where maybe we can focus in because of the location and the situation in Yemen today and the rest of Oman with a good relationship with everybody in the region and our neighbors everywhere. We have a good relation with everybody today. So Dhofar as a location, it can play a big role there. And with the free zone is there, the port with the capability, with the team. I mean, it's really an area where we can get that growth. That's
sure. Mr. Himansu, you touched upon certain industry sectors which should be focused upon in Dhofar region. How Muscat Overseas Group is taking the opportunities forward in the sectors which you talked about?
Yeah, Ajay mentioned actually, Aj also Mr. Omar and Hussain, everybody mentioned about the value addition, whatever available our feedstocks and exploiting the opportunity of the free zone and the port. The first sector which we believe is value addition is the manufacturing, and that I have mentioned that we are setting up a manufacturing plant to produce the caustic soda, sodium chloride, and the sodium nitrate and sodium nitrate. With this process, we are utilizing the local limestone, and other feedstock is the salt. Currently, we are planning to import from next door, which is India, which is quicker, it can reach, or any other competitive market. But in future, we are also thinking we can produce salt in Salalah itself, which can be utilized, plus the ammonia, which is also there in Salalah methanol. So mostly we are utilizing the local resources, and also it will cater to the local demand in the oil and gas industry, in food industry, and many industry. Maybe you can say 25 to 30% can be consumed local and regional, and remaining 50 to 60% for the global export-oriented market. And it will create a lot of employment opportunity and also put a brand building. And it can be starting off a chemical processing and mineral processing industry, and we can really create a kind of a big complex in the different expansion plan. Now we are working on phase 1, and definitely will progress further. So this is one of the industry where in manufacturing we are doing. Similarly, as I touched upon in the fishery and agriculture, we have been already investing, and currently in the abalone projects, which we believe it's a very prime importance for the Salalah, because it is a brand we are taking it to the global market. And also we are preserving the local sea resources, sea wealth, which is depleting, which is we have to conserve it, and also supporting the local people there in terms of employment opportunity, employment of training, the maintain the quality employment, and also a sustainable income for the country in terms of foreign resources. So that is a unique project. It's a definitely it is a really brand building and for the Oman to bringing this product to the not only the Western market, not only the Eastern market, also in the regional market. So abalone is known for few people in maybe, and definitely everybody know in Salalah, but in Muscat also there are many people doesn't know. Actually, we have to bring it to the other GCC market as well. So that project we are already we have done the started R&D in 2013 and 14, growing the abalone species, spawning on our control environment, and now and hatching and growing it, and we are quite successful in R&D. Now we are doing the commercial project along with our South African partner, who are the leaders in terms of producing, marketing, selling, producing feedstocks and brand building. And we want to our agreement. We have a create a Omani brand and continuity of supply to the global market. So we have a really definitely much hope on these projects, and similar to this we have many other projects in pipeline in the food and agriculture business. As we are talking about lot of growth and bringing to Salalah in a global landscape, so which the Salalah should be ready to have a social infrastructure ready in terms of the domestic population, for the tourists, for the business people, for the investors. Social infrastructure means high quality education, good quality healthcare, lot of other entertainment or other facility. So those sectors also we are focusing in housing, healthcare, tourism. In tourism also, not only the hotel, resorts and other things, also the surrounding activities. Currently, mostly Salalah predominantly is the leisure tourism. So we have to think fun-based tourism, medical tourism, educational tourism. So many surrounding business can be done, and it add value to the Dhofari region and Dhofari people. And also we have to groom the local talent. So all these sector scattering, we are developing our own educational facilities, food processing, food business, manufacturing, and healthcare. So those are the current focus sector as of now. And other than that, logistics is a big business in Salalah, as we have one of the largest shipping port and trans-shipping capabilities. So we can be a distributor to the African and other market actually. So it has a big logistic and distribution opportunities there in Salalah.
Sure, definitely. Mr. Mohammed, I'll come to you on this. Like, Port of Salalah has been a showcase public-private partnership project in the country. It was the first one in the Sultanate, in fact. And I believe as part of the overall economic diversification of Oman, PPP has been accorded a very high significant attention to that. How PPP based projects could play a major role in the future roadmap of Dhofar, in your opinion?
Okay, thank you again. And as you mentioned, Port of Salalah was the first PPP project in Oman, and it shows that it's a very successful project. And I think now, if you look into the government vision 2040, and also part of the Tanfeed project, I think now the trend is to have more of this PPP, and that's why actually the government has initiated like an authority for this. So I think moving forward, all the project will be now based on this concept is PPP. So I think and we will see more of that coming up.
Sure, thank you. I just want to share one update with you on this. Like Mr. Syed is not feeling well. In fact, he was not feeling well even before the webinar. He had just logged out. So he will not be continuing with the webinar. So he will not be with us for the time being. Moving on, like, we know we talked about the strengths of Dhofar. We talked about also the key industry areas which we should be focusing on. But the big question is that, have we done enough for Dhofar? So before I come to all of you, let me go to the audience and ask them, is enough being done to support and promote Dhofar? Can we have the polling question on the screen, please? Admin, can we have the polling question? Yes. The question is enough being done to support and promote Dhofar? Please vote yes or no. Oh my God, it seems like a very high majority thinks not enough has been done to promote Dhofar. We are still getting the results. Okay, so we are locking in the screen. So 84% of the audience members thinks not enough has been done. 16% believes enough has been done. Let me come to you, all the speakers, on this. What are the challenges on the path of Dhofar's economic progress? I start with Mr. Siddharth. What challenges do you face while running your business in Dhofar?
I mean, Dhofar is a great place for our setup. We have been there in 1981. So Raysut Cement is a big brand name, and as a local player, they have been very, very popular in Dhofar region. But recently the increase in gas price we are now focused more on exports. About 50% of our cement is exported, and which needs a higher capacity of the port to handle the loading of cement in the export zone. So that is also two things that we are looking at. The gas price in last 4 years has increased by 50%, which is a really big impact on our bottom line. And we also looking at the port handling, which takes a little longer time compared to if you take it in other ports. And we are now thinking of growing our business in Africa region, so where we wanted to have more and more clinker exported, which will be a more port handling requirement would be needed. We are already present in Maldives and all the Channel Islands and Indian Ocean Islands, and even in India. We are exporting to India now from Salalah. But these are the two challenges that we can look at now. There's one is the gas price increase, and the second one is the port handling limits, the quantity that we can handle, the frequency.
Mr. Siddharth, we have Mr. Mohammed with us from Port of Salalah. Mr. Mohammed, would you like to answer Mr. Siddharth's point on this?
Can you just repeat the question again? I didn't hear the question.
Yes, Mr. Siddharth. I have a direct question for Mr. Mohammed.
Yeah. I heard that 8,000 tons tons that we can load in a day in Salalah, whereas compared to the other region, other ports, we are doing 40,000 tons. I understand because you do not have the regular requirement, but this is something that we would like to expand from Raysut Cement so that we can start exporting more and more and save time and get foreign exchange for the country.
Yeah, definitely we are expanding on that, on our even productivity rate. So definitely with the increased when we have a lot of increase in demand from you guys, we are now even investing in more equipment to cater for that. So definitely we have a plan in place for that.
Exactly, on this point only we wanted to.
Don't worry, we will match your demand.
That's nice.
Sure. I hope that satisfies you, Mr. Siddharth. Mr. Omar, from your experience, what are the issues that Dhofar-based businesses face?
It's there always will be some issues. It's not that there is one thing is happening. It's a process. And a couple of years ago, I think Mr. Mohammed in his presentation, he showed how Salalah port being developed. So as those kind of seminars is happening, as the business, big groups of companies is focusing Salalah, those things will go away. And the only thing maybe I can say is, Dhofar need to be known to the rest of the world, and we need to focus in the free zone. Because see, free zone is there, the port is there, and it's all completed. I mean, for Dhofar, yes, I understand the cost of operation sometimes is higher when it goes to gas and oil and gas, but still, I believe continuing promoting Dhofar internationally and understand what is the need for the region. I think there we can grow. Mr. Himansu from Muscat overseas, he touched in he just mentioned a couple of projects. It's in line, and there is in Dhofar. We as the Dhofar Insurance today, we are growing in Dhofar region. We are when it came to a new business, we get a lot of requirement to cover when it comes to industry, when it comes to the business. So as I said, we are growing. It just need us. We need to look what is the need from out of Oman. We need to think out of the box. Maybe that's the thing what everybody is using now. But again, what we can do is a lot. There is no limit so far. That's
Sure. I'll come to Mr. Hussain. Mr. Hussain, as the premier body to support the interest of the business community in Dhofar, what OCCI is doing to help the business community?
Yeah, I think we, in terms of promoting, I mean, today it is coming in with the new, the Ministry of Commerce and Promoting of Industry. It is becoming our rules to promoting Dhofar. But however, we should promote to the investor to come to invest in Dhofar. We would like to make sure the environment business, it should going friendly. We try to play the role between the businessman and the government. We are in the between of them. So we try maximum to advise the businessman, how's the sector is going on, how's the situation. As well, we try to link the local investor with each other. We try to link the local investor with the foreign investor to make the deal. As well, every year in the Dhofar region, mainly, we had we almost 3 to 4 teams that are leaving the country to promote Dhofar, to meet P2P with the other investor. Last year we was in Italy. The year before we was in Thailand, as well in China and Turkey as well. We was there with the delegation, with the businessman of Dhofar. This main thing we want, but really we would like to have a good player with the role of, we have a data today. We have a lot of data. We have with the manufacturing data, with the trading data, how we can connect them with each other. We find there is a lot of businessmen today that really importing their product not from direct from the resource, which is really we would like to all the for example, last month, I think, or this year, even through the academic, with Corona, we find out we connect almost 7 to 8 businessmen who's receiving products from China, but it was not coming direct. So we try to connect them with the Chinese embassy, with the to have a direct import from the resource. Here we are doing some data as well. I would like to come back to the data. Some office, the consultant office, they try to make some feasibility study of the project. Honestly, we have a lot of data, we have a lot of information, and all this we can share it to the public. We can share it to the businessman, which will help them how they can direct their project, how they can make their project, how they can make a feasibility for themselves. All this we can do it soon, inshallah. I hope we can do it.
Sure, Mr. Hussain, that brings us to the point. Actually, yes, Dhofar has got good potential. There have been challenges also. How do we overcome them? Now, when it comes to OCCI, what support do you require from the government? As we all know that His Excellency Kaisal Yusuf, the current Minister for Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion, used to be the chairman of OCCI till very recently, and he's aware of the problems of the business community. And in fact, in one of the OER webinars a few months ago, he had talked about some of the solutions. So what support do you require from the government, from His Excellency on this?
See, I'm sure he was so close to His Excellency so a long time ago, and even now, I'm sure 100% we will work closely to him. Today we should ask some special things since Corona is there. So not only Dhofar, all of Oman, all the world today. We are a special case today. But I believe since in this special case today, we ask a lot of things. We send, by the way, weekly report to our head of the Chamber of Commerce in Muscat, and our Chamber of Commerce, they're sending their report to the ministry. in weekly pace. We send a report in weekly pace. We try to touch the requirement of the businessman, how they are facing the problem, and we try to make it in one model, one requirement. We send it to the Muscat to get their answer. I believe today we should close to the bank, and rescheduling the installment, which is really all the plan. Suddenly it is really. All the plan is nobody can follow their plan, since no export, no manufacturing today. One day lockdown, one day opening, so it's you cannot plan. So since it's out of our hands, so really we ask the bank, mainly the bank, to reschedule the installment again, to find out, and the problem today, we are really facing the problem when they are rescheduling. They are scheduled with high interest rate. Today we are not in normal situation. So they should not thinking the bank. They should not thinking to kill the private sector. And tomorrow, if the private sector, I'm sure 100%, not only on Oman, 100 of company they will close. But we should try maximum to keep who can be alive, to continue their business. Otherwise, we will not find private sector if we are dealing with them. It's like a normal situation. Bank sector or finance sector, today they are thinking still they are dealing with the private sector. It's like normal situation. We are not in normal situation. If we are not in this situation, we will not ask you to reschedule our installment or something like that. We will pay, but because of Corona, we ask that. But when we ask that, you should not come to ask me, in very high rate. I know some bank, they are giving certain interest rate, normal rate, and by Corona now they ask 1.5 more. Come on, no, it should not work there by this way. I'm sure. So this is one request. I'm really seeing from other government, they are really giving free rental. For example, like Madayn, already they are giving 3 months free rent. And we ask all Madayn, we ask all free zone, Salalah free zone, we ask all where we can give the private sector help, we should help them. Where we can give them, since 1 year now, I'm sure 100% nobody doing well. So since that, we ask the government to look into us. We ask all organizations to look to the private sector to keep them alive. Otherwise, we will not find private sector within a couple of months. I'm sure 100% if we continue by this way. And honestly, we always try often to meet our our member here in Dhofar and all of Oman, and to touch the requirement and to raise it to our head office. And always we are listening to them. Anybody having any opinion, having any idea, so we try to listen to them. Yesterday, for example, we have a big meeting with the private school. Sure, the private school today, they're really in very bad situation. They don't know, they will continue or not. They should plan or not. So who's responsible for them? Which is really very important sector, education. And I believe in Salalah itself, more than 11 to 15,000 of students, the private school, the cubed in the school. So if it's closed, who will be responsible for that? So really private sector, and I believe government really, they're looking to us as a partner, and we are a partner of government. But they should looking to us as a real partner, and they give us, some pre. I cannot calculate what they should giving to us, because really we need a lot of things. We raised a lot of report. We sent a lot of report to the government, and we are waiting for them to give us some special in that.
Sure, Mr. Hussain, we can understand your pain on this actually. Mr. Omar, what is your opinion on that? How this issue to be resolved? What is your recommendation to the government? What should be done?
See, it's globally. It's not only in Dhofar. But of course, we've seen that. The central bank now, they give the waiver for 6 months, and we are in a situation where it's either getting better or getting worse. A couple of weeks ago, we said, okay, this COVID it's getting down, number is getting down, and suddenly in Europe we are going back to the top. In Oman is the same. I mean, we are going back to like half a lot. I mean, it's not 100%, but you know, it's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's a cooperate between both sides, government, private sector, banking sector. It's all. I mean, even in the insurance sector, we faced an issue because of the retirement. That it took us a good couple of weeks to convince our supporter as a reinsurance to give a cover up to 70 years of the retirement, because their scheduling of the loan now is coming. So, you know, we need to be ready. So challenge is there. It needs from both sides to work together, and with the new government. And Sheikh Hussain, he is a member, and the new Mr. Qais Al Yusuf is now in the government, and it needs time. It's not only government need to support. It's both sides, private sector with the government. Yes, it's the resource is limited, but hopefully, inshallah, things can be better, because until now we don't know how the COVID can be. It might the number can increase. It might goes to another 6 months. We are not sure yet, and everybody is just waiting and try to minimize the loss here. So I think it's a both sides. Government and private sector should work together.
Sure, very well said on that. You know, Mr. Himansu, I'll come to you on that. You know, we are living under very abnormal times. Extraordinary circumstances requires extraordinary and very innovative solutions to solve the problem, and there is no silver bullet for this. Now, if I look at Muscat Overseas Group, on the one hand, you have got interest in the financial services sector, which is what Mr. Hussain was talking about it. They demand better interest rates, better access to capital to continue the business also. Now, you have investments across financial institutions. At the same time, you're also suffering, which Mr. Hussain talked about it. Okay, we need some waivers. We have presence in health sector. You got presence in education sector. You got presence in manufacturing as well. So how do we address this problem?
Yeah, actually, there are two kinds. One are short-term problems and another is long-term problems. Okay, the current issues in terms of COVID, lockdown and all, those are short-term problems where the interest rate has been increased and all those things, but still it is slowly getting addressed by the banks and the central bank. They are doing, but of course, I completely agree. If we compare to the other regional banks, they are giving lot of relaxation in comparison to local banks, but eventually it may come, it could come, but it's a temporary. But in the long run, if you focus on Dhofar, you want to promote Dhofar industry, what I personally believe, we should create a independent fund, an independent body, which will be ability, it is maybe consortium of banks or some fund or some government body to provide kind of a lending facility on a priority basis on the projects to be developed in surrounding Dhofar, in maybe Dhofar free zone, which can give a priority in terms of lending, means quick, which is about national interest, creating employment opportunity, bringing the Omani brand value. So that should be also given a concessional rate, just like ODB developed for the SME sector to prosper. Similarly, those who are doing the large scale projects or bigger projects which create real employment opportunity, prosperity that to entire region and national value, that kind of fund should be created. So it should be joint hand between government should initiate, definitely the private sector, the banks should collaborate and should do. So that if that will happen, lot of incentives, because we, even if we have infrastructure that's Salalah port and free zone, but we are also competing to the other free zones and port in this region. So what competitive advantage, attractiveness other than the location? Of course, location definitely is a distinct advantage, but also into the process, financing, easiness, we have to get into that. So if we have to do maybe for next 5 or 10 years, we are there. We will be full, will be huge demand. And most important, even if we are ready, as many of us as already touched upon, promotion. We are not promoting at all. I believe we are not promoting at all, neither in the tourism, maybe very nominal, not in the tourism, not for the attracting investors, local, even regional or even international. We should create a brand building exercise for Dhofar as a destination, both for tourism and for the industries. If we do so, and all the facilities there, and we communicate well and provide all the welcoming facility, and definitely it will prosper. And third and most important thing, not for Dhofar, even for the Oman, we should believe and focus or more on employability along with the employment target. As we are doing a visa womanization target to across, we should promote if somebody, let's say certain industry requirement 70% or 60% womanization requirement, but certain special skill set is not available. We are compromising, we are not able to get. So in that case, that should transfer. If you are not able to employ, put on employability, means sponsor the private schools and other schools or government schools to create from grassroots level the employability for the next generation. Our country is a growing country and full of young people. So we should nurture and make it employable. Even if in economic slowdown, they lose job, if they are employable, either they will find another job in Dhofar, in Omar, or elsewhere in the globe, if they are employable, or they can start their own economic activity or occupational. So our focus slowly in a long-term focus should be given into the employability. Along with, of course, we have to have employment target, but at least along with that also employability. Then our country will be amazing. It will be top of the world because we have every ingredients, untapped ingredients, everything is there with us. So I believe in the government, three things what I told. One is some funding, incentives plan. Second is the promotion. Third is the local grooming, the local talent, make them employable in different schemes, new schemes, just like womanization target, employability target. So something to be given. So every big organization to sponsor few good students, bright students, young, aspiring and hardworking students to do their continuing the technical or higher education, even the primary education. Okay, so it will give really good signals to the entire region, nation, and everybody actually.
Very, very well said, Mr. Himansu. I'll come to Mr. Mohammed on this regarding the point of making a joint effort to promote Dhofar region per se. How the relevant stakeholders could work together to jointly promote Dhofar region. What is your recommendation, Mr. Mohammed, on this? How it could be?
Yeah, my point on that, I think what we are lacking in Dhofar is the joint marketing. And I think if we take Dhukum, for example, as an example, they are doing a good job, especially they are under one unit, which was at that time CZAD, Special Economic Zone for Dhukum, which is now on the new entity, Oman Free Zones. I think what we need to do is work together, all the like Chamber of Commerce, Port of Salalah, the Free Zone, as well as the airport and other entities, to promote Salalah as a one unique maybe brand or whatever. By doing that, we will have all these ingredients together, and when we are going to investors, we will give them as a one package to all, instead of each one of us going individually. So I think this is one of the things that needs to be done in Dhofar in order to promote it. And maybe we can work together with the new entity, Salalah, Oman Free Zones and the Economic Zones, to establish that in Dhofar.
We hope like there will be more efforts in this direction. Let me come to you, Mr. Siddharth. Of course, when it comes to recommendations, we would like to have the gas prices being rolled back, reduction in that. And of course, we'd like to see an expansion of the port of Salalah as well. Apart from these two, what is your recommendation to the government? What kind of incentives do you require for the manufacturing sector, especially from the export side? And are you also would like to recommend some barriers to protect the interests of the local industries?
I think, Oman has got 4 million population, and people are, we have done a lot of industrialization in the country, and it is time that Oman, as a Omani company, should go beyond borders. And in that perspective, when we are going to set up a plant either in Africa or outside Oman, then you need to get the financing, channels across open, the financing for outside investment for a Omani company. That is something that we should look at. Post-COVID, the markets will open up and people start to go to the business back in the normal way. So this is the time when the financial structure of this country need to grow beyond the borders. That's what I suggest.
Sure.
Because now when we are looking at expanding to Africa and all, we are facing those kind of challenges in terms of financing the deals.
Sure. I have a last question for Mr. Omar before we head on with the questions from the audience. Mr. Omar, this is not pertaining to Dhofar region. Obviously, it impacts the entire country. VAT has been announced very recently, though we are still waiting for the complete details to come out. How do you see the introduction of VAT, its impact on the business and economy?
Yeah. it will be impact. Actually, it's really gonna impact the business, and actually, that's one of the things we government should be implemented 2-3 years ago, but it's been postponed for the last 3 years, and I don't know. To be honest, I will urge again the government to look back and see if that can be postponed to another 1 more year, because in this certain situation today, I think it's, as a government, they can hold for another 1 year because the impact will be big. And if I look from the insurance side, the insurance been supportive Dhofar region for the last couple of years, especially Dhofar has become an allocation for couple of occasions when it's heavy raining, and Bokono before that. And still we are getting support from the reinsurance. Still we are promoting Dhofar and the port of Dhofar, the business in Dhofar. But if it will be implemented in 6 months, I think it's really gonna be difficult, and it will impact the business negatively. So I will, one of the things, maybe I'm always positive, but I will urge the government to go back and look to this. Maybe we can start this in 22, but right now I don't think it's the right time. The impact will be very negative. I'm not really supporting this, but we need, everybody in this panel is saying we need to be positive. We need to focus in the sectors. We need to groom our people. We need to focus in private sector. If the business is growing, then the job will be provided. If I see it amazing during this period, Salalah port is showing growth, and that's a good indication for everybody to sit around one table and have a discussion and say, we need to do something. We need to focus in business. We can't always rely on government. It's the time for the private sector as a big groups to work together. And it was a good example. Raysut Cement, when it started by 10% or 35% by the government, and the rest being supported by the private sector of local Dhofar region. The same thing with Dhofar University, the same thing Dhofar Insurance, the same thing, big identity in Dhofar today, it's been supported by the local. So I don't think we are locked of knowledge or financing. It's just we need to really have an open discussion and try to focus. That's the only thing I can advise.
So we get your point, Mr. Omar, on that. We are running short a little bit of time, but I'm still tempted to go to Mr. Hussain on the VAT question. Mr. Hussain, what are your views on the VAT implementation? Are you in sync with what Mr. Omar is saying?
I completely agree with Mr. Omar is saying that. Yeah, I mean, actually, maybe I think today, yeah, I'm sure there will be impact. But however, I mean, by the end, the government, they are implementing that, so we should follow the instruction from the government. I hope up to, but from other side, which is really I'm seeing, there is some project which is not having a VAT exemption, is having. So I hope, which is in this period, it will be, actually, as you see, today actually we are in very bad situation because of coronavirus or COVID corona, which is affecting the economy. Which is affecting the social life for the people. But by the end, however, I'm sure 100% the government will not be implemented unless there is some aim of that or some goal of that, which might be happening. By the end, it's 5%, which is it might be not happening, not affecting in big scale. But I hope it will pass soon, and the economy will be recover soon, and it will be we can be alive again. and it will pass healthy to the people.
Sure, Mr. Hussain. We also hope the economy recovers faster. I think it's time to wrap up the discussion. I will go straight to the audience questions. We have many questions coming up. All of you had talked about tourism as one of the key sectors we should be focusing on. There is a question related to tourism. This question has come from Mr. Mohammed Al-Mashani. He is not from Port of Salalah, he is from Octal. Okay. So his question is, what is the role of Salalah Airport with regard to tourism sector? Why it is not called international airport? Is there any issues or facilities which are not available in the airport to make international like other airports in the region? I'm not too sure who would like to address this question.
No, I would like to add to that question. In fact, I will completely agree. Actually, as we are talking about a global city and tourism hub, our airport should be the international airport and connectivity. Right now, only very few and selective overseas we have a connectivity. I think Doha we have a connectivity that to Muscat, and I think India some direct flights. But we should have direct connectivity to European, Africa, and Middle East. All direct connectivity to happen to Salalah. So that is very much important and very much recorded. And I believe it's a chicken and egg. Whether we have a demand or we have a supply. So being a government and all, we should start building the infrastructure. Hopefully, and with a promotion, the demand will happen. So eventually, we should improve and develop our airport as a one promising airport, like a Muscat airport. We are the second largest city. We should have a kind of a what you call tourism capital of Gulf. In fact, Dhofar can be tourism capital of Gulf. So we should have that prerequisite of air connectivity. I completely agree with Mr. Mohammed's question. So I think it's a right authority should address how and when we can do that.
Sure, Mr.
If I may just add.
Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
I think as Himansu said, it depends on the demand and supply. I think currently, especially when during Kharif, we've seen a lot of even more international flights coming from Saudi Arabia, direct from Kuwait, from Bahrain, because at that time there is the highest demand from the GCC to come to Dhofar. But after Kharif, also I can give an example. For example, during Kharif, like Salam Air always they have a flight from Suhar to Salalah, because they have a demand for that. But after Kharif, the demand is very less, and usually this is what happens. So I think it's not only to the airport; it also have a big impact on the airlines itself, because the airlines, they need also to assess whether, if we open, for example, in Salalah, whether we'll have more passengers or not. This is actually the basic for things. But I think we have the infrastructure. The airport can accommodate up to 1 million, and it can expand to 2 million passengers per annum. But I think it's, as I said, like when we are looking into Dhofar as a whole, it's not only one unit like airport. As when we are looking at it as a whole, maybe the demand will come there, and definitely it will open it for more like airlines.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mohammed, for taking up this question. The next question is from a gentleman, Mr. Manohar Vanchi. His question is, I think Mr. Hussain, maybe you can answer this question. His question is, due to COVID-19 situation, many SMEs are suffering, in particular due to slowdown of business and cash flows issues. What sort of support can be given to these SMEs these days from big companies in particular? How the caddies of the business community could support the SMEs, who needs a lot of support currently?
Yeah, I'm sure about, as I mentioned it before, that I mean, SME, they're facing a lot of problem, and we see right now a lot of support coming from government, especially in terms of, for example, fees. They are giving you free fees. Don't pay your rental, for example, in Madayn for 3 months. Bank, they're rescheduling the installment, which is really appreciated, but we would like to see it in good shape, not only in very high rate. This is what I'm requesting. Still we ask, still we are in the middle, Today we cannot saying that. Today we cannot respect any support from the government. But I believe from 21, the beginning of next year, really we appreciate, or we are waiting a big support from the government to help SME or to help the people. That's why today we try as a Chamber of Commerce to play in the middle to find out exactly what we can do, what we need. Then we are raising the report to the ministry to have the right help from them, to get the right help from them.
Sure.
I can add something here for us SME. As Sheikh Hussain said, it's supported from each side, but as a big companies and banks and the financing sector, that waiver for 6 months, it will help those SMEs. Supplier, if I'm gonna take the insurance sector, for example, we've been trying to help SMEs when it came to the premium. We are not asking the premium to be paid immediate, especially in this year. We've been doing some installment for many of SMEs, just to help them. Instead of paying the premium in one time, you can do it. And if every sector can help to do whatever they can, we can go through this. They will be supported. But banking from one side, financing sector, insurance sector on one other side. And
Akshay, I think today there is many initiatives. Really, it's happened as Mr. Omar now has mentioned. Today it's happening. One initiative coming from the insurance sector, from finance sector, from bank sector, from let's say industrial area, authorization, public area. So really, honestly, today, even as a Chamber of Commerce, we are not in position to calculate all the initiatives. But as I'm telling you, because really we try to find out, to touch out what's the pain, what's the problem, to find out how we can direct them. Then I'm sure 100% all the sector, many sector really are. We appreciate their initiative. Many sector they are really giving good initiative. We are thank and appreciate their initiative. And 100% still many things is coming from the government or from the private sector to help the SME to grow, to make them alive.
Sure. There is a related question which has come from Mr. Khalid Al-Shanfari. He's also talking about the SMEs. We all know that one of the key areas of focus for development of Dhofar has been to attract international investors over there. Now, when the international investors comes into Dhofar region, how SMEs could take advantage from these developments?
Yeah, this is one. If we are talking about the social responsibility, I mean, 100%. All the big investor today. See, in the rule for the big investor, we cannot tell them, you have to do something for SME. But when we are talking about the big investor, always there is a social responsibility. I mean, they are looking to how to help. And another way, really, we are thinking about how to can. For example, this is SME. They can do some job for this big organization. I'm sure 100% all the investors they are looking. Many requests we are getting from them, to share to the SME with them, to have an idea with them, to work with them, and we are looking for this kind of opportunity to organize something like that, to merge, to meet them, to mix each other, and they might be doing some business together. We hope they are doing something together in the near future.
Sure. We have another question coming from the audience. The question is, Dhofar faced in the last few years serious cyclones and storms, which have caused significant damages. Have all lessons been learned? Is Dhofar now ready to face a second Mekunu with no damages for both public and private sectors? If not, when will it be ready? Is Dhofar ready to face these cyclones? Are we well prepared now?
I think Mashani, he should answer this question.
Yes, I can answer this question because we faced Mokono. I think, yes, we have learned a lot of lessons from our experience with Mokono, with Luban. And there are definitely a few things. One is to the companies which we are doing. We are learning from our previous happening, like Mukon and all this. The other thing is the infrastructure, which needs to be done by the government, which I can also announce that the government has also awarded to the construction of 2 dams in the Raysut area, which will actually cover the flooding of wadis to the port and to the free zones area. Well, I think they are already on the mobilization phase to start the construction, which will start this year. But yes, we are learning, and definitely from one to another, we are learning how to deal with such crisis.
Sure. Mr. Omar, would you like to say anything on this?
See, in terms of learning, I will give an example in the last occasion when it started the rain. The number of accident, damage, motor damage. I will give an example. It's nearly. I will put it as an amount. It's not more than 100,000 riyal. So the difference between last occasion and the previous one, there is huge. So even the public they already they have the learning of to be in the safe side, to keep their motors in a safety place. The local already they are aware where if it starts raining heavily, they know where is the area where it's high risk and low risk. So I've been amazed in the last occasion that the damage was very very minimized comparing to Mukono. If I compare two occasions, I remember in Mukono only Salalah port is around 90, almost $100 million claim was there, and the others, Octal as another company, they incurred around 30 million riyal Omani. So in Mukono it was $250 million, and in the last training happened in Salalah, it's less than 70 million. And that it gives indication the public, the companies, everybody is learning from what happened. As Mr. Mohammed mentioned, the government is already floated 2 tenders. It's already awarded for the dam. And we are talking to Dhofar municipality in terms of to take some caution, and we are talking to some big companies such as Dhofar Tourism, Raysut, to learn from those 2 occasions. So actually the awareness in publicly, it's really good response I'm seeing in the last 5 years. It's there.
Sure, definitely. I'm afraid like we will not be able to take more questions from the audience, though we have a lot more questions coming up from them. But after the end of the webinar, we are going to take up these questions directly with the respective speakers on a private note, and they could answer back to you. Gentlemen, it is a day of intense discussion and exchange of ideas to explore the roadmap ahead for Dhofar. Before we wrap up, let me have one last question for all of you. What is that one thing about Dhofar that you like the most? Let me start with Mr. Mohammed.
I would say everything. So yeah, everything about Dhofar is good. Whether from the investor point of view, whether from the weather, whether from opportunities, everything is good in Dhofar.
Sure. Mr. Himansu, what's your take on this?
Yeah, actually, it is a package deal. It's a kind of a unique proposition of the natural beauty and strategic location and a lot of infrastructure built. It's a package deal. If you say personally, I like the natural beauty. I love to work in Dhofar, being such a beautiful climate and environment condition. There's a package deal. It's a mix of everything. It gives a unique proposition.
Sure. Mr. Oman, what do you have to say on this?
Well, I will put it in a word: people. Dhofar people they are, even in COVID, when the lockdown is there, and I couldn't put this in public, but when there is any occasion, you get people gathering, they want to get you help. One of the things, Dhofar, it's a tourist destination, and I hear it from people from GCC, that Yahi, when I come to Salalah, everybody want to help. There is an occasion when tourists arrive to Salalah during the season, in the peak of the season, And our Dhufaris, they are welcome them to their home. I know some families, they move, they have space for people at least for a day or two until they find a place. And what I like about Dhofar is the people. I mean, it's you know, when you go to Salalah, it's you interact with people immediate. There is no as such, okay, let me know you first and then track will be there. But no, it's immediate. It's just yeah, it's people.
Yeah, we
Can I-
totally-
He's biased because he's Dhofari. Just kidding.
No, Mr. Mohammed, like, you know, I
Yeah.
can vouch for that. I've been to Dhofar a
Correct.
couple of times and I've been really impressed by the hospitality and the friendliness of the people from Dhofar. It's a first-hand experience, you know, over the years. Mr. Hussain, what do you say on this?
I'm really I'm always saying I like Salalah location.
Sure.
And Salalah location and we can say Salalah infrastructure as well. And my dream to see Salalah one day, it is really a hub of the mini region here. And this is, since we have very good locations, since we have very good resources, we have good infrastructure. So I'm sure 100% within a couple of years we will play a good role in that. So I hope to see it.
Sure. Mr. Siddharth, your last word on this.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has put it all together, but I would say as a Dhofari company, we would say that, you know, the people and the place which makes a difference, and very good connectivity, and it's the best place to be for a cement plant.
Totally agree with all of you. Dhofar is definitely a full package offering different things to different people. I would now request Mr. Atulya to kindly do the closing remarks and share the key takeaways from today's webinar. Mr. Atulya, please.
Thanks to all the panelists for their insights and valuable advice on the future roadmap of Dhofar. The session kick-started with a presentation by Mr. Mohammed Al-Mashani of Port of Salalah about the rapid progress made by the port and how today it is one of the largest ports in the region. It is, of course, a multi-purpose port managing containers, general cargo, and liquids. And what was particularly impressive to note was the 12% growth in volume of overall cargo handled by the port year on year. I think this is a good indicator of the growth in economic activity of the region. What was also particularly impressive was the fact that any cargo leaving the shores of Salalah can reach any destination in the world within 2 weeks. Now that is a tremendous locational advantage and strength that Salalah possesses. Commenting on the recent royal tour of His Majesty Sultan Haitham to the Dhofar region, Mr. Omar of Dhofar Insurance shared with us that Sultan Haitham bin Tariq wanted to start from Dhofar, just like the late His Majesty Sultan Qaboos had done. This speaks volumes about focus on Dhofar by the leadership of the Sultanate. Talking about why Raysut Cement set up base in Dhofar, Mr. Siddharth of Raysut Cement said that Dhofar offers them all the ingredients for success. All the necessary inputs like limestone, etc. are locally available. There is also good availability of manpower for managing the processing, and the output could be sent to its destination domestically or overseas using the good connectivity that Dhofar offers. So from input to processing to output, Raysut Cement finds Dhofar to be an ideal location. Mr. Himansu of MOG of Muscat Overseas Group summed up the strengths of Dhofar by recounting the region's attractiveness in terms of 3 strategic points. One, of course, the location and the excellent infrastructure that Dhofar offers. 2, he went on to talk about the unique propositions of Dhofar. One, of course, which we all know about, frankincense, which he said should not just be used in its crude form, but value-added things like aromatics and other byproducts can be done with it, which would be helpful for the healthcare and the wellness industries. And he also talked about abalone, which is a premium delicacy consumed exhaustively in the Asian markets. And Dhofar is the only region, in the Gulf, which is producing this. And Dhofar has huge potential of becoming the champion and the flag bearer of abalone and the Oman brand in these markets where abalone is consumed in huge quantities. He also talked about the potential for prospective investors in new domains, just as their own group, Muscat Overseas Group, is doing, including a new manufacturing plant for caustic soda, sodium nitrate and nitrite, to convert the commodities and minerals of Dhofar into value-added products. He also talked about how there is a huge potential in Dhofar in the domain of developing the social infrastructure of the place. And he talked about education and tourism in that regard. He talked about how the Muscat Overseas Group is setting up a school which is going to be opened in November of 2020, the South Global School. And he also talked about the fact that Dhofar can promote itself as a tourism hub, not just for leisure tourism, but also for medical tourism, MICE, and the value-added products of tourism, so to say. Mr. Hussain of OCCI aptly summed up by pointing out the great potential Dhofar holds in the key industries of tourism, fisheries, mining, oil and gas, and food manufacturing. And he rightly pointed out that the focus should be on value-added products. To sum up, the key advantages of Dhofar are in the above key industries and the region's close proximity to East Africa, with a population of 400 million people, and its immediate neighbor, which is Yemen, with a population of 30 to 35 million, as pointed by both Mr. Omar and Mr. Mohammed. The next section of the webinar was about the key challenges being faced by the Dhofar region. Mr. Siddharth stated that the sharp increase in gas prices has impacted his company adversely. He also emphasized that the port of Salalah should enhance its handling capacity if they are to effectively tap the export markets. Mr. Mohammed reassured him and all of us that such expansion is already underway. All the panelists talked about the short-term impact of the coronavirus and how it is hurting market sentiment and economic activity in the short term, and recommended that the government must help businesses through debt restructuring, rent waivers, and decrease in interest rates, which are already happening, but possibly more needs to be done in those regards. Mr. Omar pointed that the biggest challenge for Dhofar is to promote itself and its strengths. Mr. Hussain of OCCI talked about how Dhofar has sent business delegations to Italy, Thailand, and China to promote Dhofar, and how OCCI has supported the existing and prospective businesses through all data and inputs required by them, including advisory services. We ended the webinar with recommendations from the panelists, and the key point to note, which was highlighted by Mr. Himansu, Mr. Mohammed, and Mr. Hussain, was about a brand building campaign for promoting Dhofar and highlight the key strengths of Dhofar as a great place to do business, supported by bountiful weather, abundant minerals and raw material, excellent infrastructure, great connectivity, a supportive government policy for investment through the free zone, and the best possible location. With that, it is a wrap from my side. Thanks to everyone for attending, and please join me in thanking our esteemed panelists for their valuable insights. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, Mr. Atulya, for summarizing it so beautifully. That brings us to an end of today's webinar. Thank you, Mr. Hussain Al Buthari, Mr. Mohammed Al Mashani, Mr. Omar Al Shaikh, Mr. Siddharth Rishi Sathapathy, Mr. Himansu Mohapatra, for the interactive and informative discussion today. We are also thankful to Mr. Syed Al-Rashdi, who had to unfortunately leave in between. We wish him a speedy recovery. We are also thankful to Madayn, Oman Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and Oman Manufacturers Association for their support to the webinar. We are also thankful to our strategic partners, Dhofar International Development and Investment Holding Company, Raysut Cement, Port of Salalah, Dhofar Insurance Company, Bank Dhofar, Muscat Overseas Group, Octal, and Transom. And finally, our heartfelt thanks to all our viewers for watching today's webinar. Today's webinar will be uploaded on YouTube and businessliveme.com for the benefit of viewers who might have missed it, or for those who may want to watch it all over again. Goodbye to all of you from Team UMS. Take care and stay safe.